Yo guys, welcome back. It is Ripe again, back with episode 63 of our Reddit series, and I hope you're ready to get annoyed at some entitled people. Today we are gonna read some stories from our own subreddit, which is r/ripe stories, and you're welcome to share your own stories on there. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. My entitled mom wants my now ex-boyfriend. Hey Ripe and readers, waves. Sorry if this is a long read, there's a lot to get off my chest, but I hope it turns out as an interesting read. And by the way, this was posted by u/littlered95. Thank you very much for sharing your story. The cast is me, female about 20, fella, male about 26, and my mom, female, about prehistoric. This is an old story from years ago and it was a really bad time for me. But years ago, I was with this fella, shocker I know, and there was something about that guy at the time that drove me wild. And it turned out that he accidentally had the same effect on my mother, who is about 50 years old and married for just around 30 years at the time. She would behave odd around him and she wasn't too bothered about who saw. She became obsessed and everyone was peed off, especially Dad, who she had cheated on before. My mom would take extra care at mealtimes to serve him the best bits of food and serve it to him personally. On one occasion, when I went to help her serve up, she gives me the ugly, wide-eyed, angry glare and I could feel the heat of her rage and growls through her teeth.
Thanks a bloody bunch!
I back off and give out the plates of food, wondering what the heck just happened. One Yule, I had the idea to give fella this massive fleece blanket with a picture of a wolf's face in a dream catcher that matched his black jacket. His metabolism was so ridiculously high that it ate at his muscles too. He could not keep any body fat, he was always cold. My mom insisted on helping me buy it and I was short on cash and we came to a happy agreement. The day came and she gave him the gift claiming it was all hers and I didn't know what to say. As he unrolled his new blanket, she said,
"When you snuggle it in bed, think of me."
I have no clue how to process any of this. Fella tells me later that my mother is getting too close for comfort. She would directly tickle at his belly when he stretched up and his shirt would lift about an inch or two and I would swat her hand and she gets angry. And then tries to play it off as playful. I know what my mother considers fun and I wish that on no man because my dad needs a medal or 12. She suddenly starts baking regularly, very odd, brownies specifically, and my specialty is apple pie. It turns out fella's favorite treat is, drumroll, brownies. I could cope with this stuff, it was annoying but manageable. Until me and fella were shy people and liked to stick purely to one another's company. He had wandering hands too, you know where that leads, you don't need an explanation. After some time of our absence, my mom thought it was a good idea to visit us without knocking and we certainly were not listening for the door. I turn my head and I gasped so hard I choke. "What the heck are you staring at? F off!" I shout, fighting back the urge to throw a PS3 controller at her face. Also, I would never do that, I love my PlayStation. Calmly, with a wide, creepy, yet content smile, she says,
No, there's no need for that."
I never want to see that expression again for as long as I live. Fella scrambles for a duvet to cover his and hides, he's mortified. I keep on screaming at my mom and I'm shaking. She slowly turns, not once looking away from us, she smiles wider and leaves. I wanted to stomp my dad and demand he keeps his filthy wife under control, but fragile fella would not be able to handle the family-wide argument. There were regular attempts by my mother to see him nude again, and even went as far to tell me she didn't want any grandchildren from me. We all knew fella hated kids, I loved them, and she didn't want me to get pregnant and scare him away from her. All of this broke my heart and contributed majorly to my failing mental health. Sadly, there's no karma for my mother, but fella and I broke up and she now has no contact with him, which is fine by me. Although she still tries every now and then. YouTube provides escape for me, which distracts me and drowns out a lot of these memories for a while. It helps me so much. Thank you, Ripe, for your readings, and thank you, readers, for your attention and patience. Blessed be. Well, thank you, first of all, for sharing your story. I'm very sorry that you had to deal with that. And also, it makes me really happy to hear that my videos can help you in such a way. So either way, let's move on to the next story from our subreddit. Entitled Family While on a Trip to Germany. Posted by Scottish Boy 2002. Hey Ripestars and subscribers, your favorite EP bait boy here again. And boy, do I have a story for you. So in August of 2018, me and my dad took a trip to Bremen in Germany. SV Werder forever, which is a soccer team by the way. And it was amazing until the second day. So me and my dad went to a local bar and had a few drinks. I mainly had some cider and a few coolers. #hangover. When the stars of our show arrived. King and Queen EP and their prince and princess. They sat down at the table next to us and ordered. They were a typical working class American family, and boy were they loud. We mainly ignored them, but it was hard not to interrupt. At this point, I should mention that the legal drinking age in Germany is 16, and I had recently turned 16 days prior, so this was sort of a birthday treat. The entitled family then ordered their drinks, and oh boy, what followed after, it still makes me cringe. The ES and ED ordered alcoholic drinks, and when the waiter asked them for ID, the EF said,
"Oh, they don't need ID, they are 16.
The server then said, "I'm sorry sir, but I cannot prove that unless they have identification. It's the law." This is when the EM pipes up. EM,
"But they are 16, just let them have their drinks."
server, "I'm sorry madam, but I still need ID to prove they are of age." EF,
"This is ridiculous, we came here to have a family night. If we say they can have those drinks, then they can have them. So get them their drinks or I will have you out of the door before you can say your name."
server, "Sir, please calm down or else I have to call the Polizei," which is the police in Germany, obviously. ED,
"Then we will order 2 Cokes if we cannot have alcoholic drinks."
winks to EM. Server, "Are you sure?" EM,
"Yes, now get them their Cokes."
I then whisper to my dad that I know what is about to happen. EM,
"Excuse me, what are you whispering?"
me, "What is it to you?" EF,
"Don't be rude to my wife."
me, "Well, tell her not to intrude on other people's conversations then." EM,
"Kids these days."
the server then comes back with the drinks and hands them to the entitled family. As the server walked away, the parents added liquor to their kids' Cokes. I was like, what the actual hell? My dad then whispers to me to go get the server, but to make it look like as I am just going to the toilet. I agreed to do it. Minutes later, I return with the server in tow. Server, "Excuse me ma'am, but I just got a complaint that you have added something to your kids' drinks. Is this true?" EM,
"Absolutely not, we would do no such thing. Whoever told you is a liar and should get thrown out."
I just chuckle. Bad move. EM,
"Was it you?"
staring daggers into me. Me, mimicking her voice.
"Absolutely not, I would do no such thing."
EF,
"Bullcrap, I saw you go get the server."
my dad, "Well, maybe if you did not add liquor into your kids' drinks, maybe he wouldn't have had to." EF,
"Shut your mouth, you British boy."
MD was ready to knock this guy into next Wednesday, but he's a chill guy, so left him be. This is when I piped in. Me, "We are not British, we are Scottish." EF,
"Can it, smartass."
ES, "Dad, he's got alcohol." Me, "Aye, and you're not getting it." EF,
"Give him the drink."
server, "Sir, sit down." EF,
"Shut up, you stupid crowd."
at this point, the manager steps out. Manager, "Sir, take yourself and your family out of here and never come back again. You're banned." EF,
"And who's gonna make me?"
manager, "If you don't leave within the next 30 seconds, I will call the police to get you out forcefully. Your choice." EM,
"Fine, come on kids."
they all leave angrily. Manager, to us, "Sorry about that. Would you like a refill? It's on the house." Me, "Sure." The rest of the night went great, although I did wake up the next morning with a bit of a hangover, but whatever, it was a great night. Thanks for the story, and that leads me to the first question of today. Ripestars, when was the time you had your worst hangover? And what did you drink to get that? Also, if you have watched until here, post some stars in the comments to let me know that you are a loyal Ripe star. And I swear, that damn word gets me demonetized every time. In the drive-thru, everyone can hear you scream. Alright folks, pull up your dungarees, lock your doors, hide your daughters, and turn out the lights. Today's tale is far more recent than most of my stories here. So recent, in fact, that it literally just happened right before I took to penning this account. It was an overcast day in Des Moines. The sun was hiding, likely because I knew I was not in a particularly good mood due to my job. See, at present I am what you might call a customer service representative at a call center specializing in taking abuse because our clients cannot seem to get their employees paid properly. My job is to document the callers' grievances and ensure that they get passed along to someone who can actually do something about it, which the people in charge of getting results always take their sweet ass time to do. Naturally, this job has a way of pissing me off to the point of nearly achieving the Super Saiyan transformation, especially given the fact that my only function is to act as a sort of whipping boy so that our clients don't have to deal with their own employees. I have no ability to do anything to help my callers directly. I cannot even update your address for you. I'm a decoy, a pawn, cannon fodder. This job is the single biggest reason I have developed a chain smoking problem. That said, I have bills to pay, so I begrudgingly show up every day to do the job. For 10 hours a day, I sit shackled to a desk and taking crap from people who make 10 times what I do about $15 expense reimbursements and such. But for one glorious half hour of my shift, I get a break for lunch. Today, I had not eaten any breakfast, so I decided to actually get lunch, instead of just seeing how many cigarettes I could smoke in 30 minutes. So I hopped into my car and swung over to a nearby chicken joint for some tasty morsels. However, much to my chagrin, which is by the way a new word for me, I had failed to consider the lunch rush due to my mind having been elsewhere at the moment, and found myself stuck once I passed the event horizon of the drive-thru. It was a damn good thing I had committed to that spicy chicken sandwich. Otherwise, I would have been even more irritated than I already was. Soon enough, it was time for me to order my meal. Finally. No sooner, though, than I had pulled up to the speaker to make my order than some woman appeared right outside my window and nearly made me crap my britches. After a moment, I realized that she had been driving the van behind me in line, which was full of kids. I have no idea if they were all hers, but it doesn't really matter to me if they were or not. She had straight gotten out of her vehicle and walked up to the speaker. Oh hell no, I thought as I leaned out my window and asked, "Excuse me lady, but what the F do you think you're doing?" The woman, a real duchess of the trailer park, who was less of a Karen and more of a Pam, gave me the old "hold that thought" gesture. Then started trying to order for her whole brood. "Yo, what the F lady? I was next, wait your turn," I protested. She stopped trying to order for a moment and gave me this look like I just shit in her purse.
"Excuse me,"
she said.
"I have a van full of hungry kids, so you're just going to have to wait."
"You can't just get out of your car and hijack people's spots though."
"Just shut up, nobody cares."
"Oh, I care. Get back in your van and wait like everyone else." It was about this time that the manager came out of the side door to see what the commotion was. The woman tried and failed miserably to convince them what a colossal prick I was being. Hard to sell when she's the one out of her still running vehicle. She brought up the
"hungry kids"
line several times as well. "Ma'am, I don't really care to know how this started, but you need to get back in your vehicle. You cannot order on foot in the drive-thru," he said. "We will serve you when it's your turn." The lady was about to say something, but getting honked at by people behind her seemed to finally get the message across. She gave in, still scowling at me like I somehow did something wrong, so I took the opportunity to take much longer than I needed to order my food, just to make her have to wait even longer. In retrospect, I feel like what I did was kind of petty. Not so much because I feel bad for the lady or the kids she had with her. Nah, Those people can go suck a butt. I do feel bad about it, though, because of those who were stuck behind her. It was some damn good catharsis, though. I honestly wish I had a better ending for you guys, one where everyone clapped and I got the key to the city, Einstein turned out to be there and all the panties landed at my feet. But none of those things happened. Instead, heads were shaken, birds were flipped and jimmies were rustled. But I got to channel my inner Al Bundy on a fool, so I got that going for me, which is nice. This story was posted by TopGorilla17 in r/EntitledPeople, and damn, that story was awesome if you ask me. Post 3 stars in the comments if you also enjoyed this story. Not entitled parent with an entitled kid out of nowhere. Some backstory. My daughter grew up in a small Midwestern town full of middle-income families, and ours was no exception. Her father and I divorced when she was pretty young, and even when I remarried, she was still raised in a pretty stereotypical middle-income household. How I ended up with a kid with such an entitled attitude is beyond me. So she is now in her early 20s and has been living on her own. I am divorced, but living with a man who's pretty well off, but certainly does not act like it. He worked hard and sacrificed in his younger years to be able to live comfortably when he got older. He did not have anything handed to him. I'm involved in a serious auto accident, and because of this, I'm not able to help out around the house like I had before. My daughter was working for a cleaning company at the time, and my domestic partner, we will call him DP, asked my daughter, further known as EK, if she would be interested in doing some cleaning for us on the side, and that way he could pay her directly and she would get to keep all the money. EK said sure, and then DP asked how much her company usually charges for a really good deep cleaning. She explained that for something like that, they would typically send in a 3-person crew and charge $80 per hour. She said a house the size of ours would usually require 2, maybe 3 hours for that sized crew. DP asked EK about what her pay broke down to by the hour. After some back and forth going over the numbers, it figured out to about $14 an hour take home, meaning after taxes and any other deductions. DP said, okay, that's good, and then you will be making a lot more and get to keep it all. I listened to the whole conversation and thought to myself that he never specified, nor did she ask, for the specific amount he was planning to pay her. She did, however, make some comment again about how her company charges $80 an hour. I had a funny suspicion about what she was thinking. But then I thought to myself that there was no way she would expect to be paid that much. I wish I could say I was wrong. Ugh. The day she agreed to start arrived and I came downstairs to chat with her for a bit while she worked diligently in my kitchen. After a short time, I went back upstairs to lay down, as I was still unable to walk or sit upright for long periods of time. When EK had finished for the day, I was sleeping, so she did what she would usually do at her job. She wrote out a note with the amount due and left it on the kitchen table. When I woke up, I walked downstairs and read the note. 5 hours times $80 per hour means $400. When I told DP what EK expected to be paid, the look on his face was incredulous. He and I talked about it for quite a while, and I told him I was not really shocked because the way their discussion went, even I got the impression that he might be paying her that amount, even though in my mind I was certain that was never his intent. So I called EK the next day, and the conversation went something like this. Me, hi baby, how was your day? EK,
Good. Did you find my note?
me, yes I did, actually that's why I'm calling.
Good. I have a few days off and some friends and I are gonna take a trip, so I was hoping to get paid before we leave.
Oh, that sounds like fun, but I think we need to discuss the amount you are expecting.
Why? That's how much my company charges for a deep clean like that.
Well, yes I understand, I said, but they also sent 3 people to work, not just 1, so obviously there should be a lot more work accomplished. EK,
But you asked for a deep clean. That's the rate for that kind of job.
me, yes EK, I get that, but that would be 3 times the work accomplished. So if you divide that $80 by 3, you would normally be charging closer to $26 per person per hour. You cannot expect anyone to pay you $80 an hour unless you are able to accomplish the same amount of work as 3 people. You did a great job, she really did. It's funny, she can clean other people's homes so well, but would never clean her own room. But it isn't worth $80 an hour. I could tell she was getting agitated because she truly was anticipating being paid that much. And I kinda felt bad because she was counting on that money for her trip. I quickly got over feeling bad for her though when she said this. EK,
Well, so what? He can afford it. He should pay me that much because I'm your daughter.
I started to go into the whole point of how he worked hard for what he has, and just because he can afford it, it doesn't mean that she deserves it. Then I decided she was not going to let her opinion go, so I finished up with this. Me, I'm sorry you don't like this, but he said he will pay you $20 per hour, which is still way more than you get to keep after taxes from your employer. Some people would think that as my daughter, you would have volunteered to do a little cleaning around the house to help me out after my accident. But I never would have expected you to do that. I would insist on paying you something. But it's shocking to me to hear you acting so entitled to someone else's money. You can pick up your $100 now, or you can stop by after your trip, whichever. She did stop by to get the money, and DP talked to her for a few minutes while I stayed upstairs. I'm sure he tried to explain it to her again, but it seems she was still highly disappointed and felt like she was tricked or lied to. This happened almost 3 years ago, and thankfully she and I are fine, but I still have no idea where she got that silly sense of entitlement she showed that day. Hopefully, as she matures, she will figure it out. Thank you very much for sharing that story. Entitled mother comes into my house and tries to convince my friend that I'm a
horrible person
because I stood up to her daughter, and says that her daughter cannot bully because she's blind, and then threatens to call the police. Backstory. When I was about 12 to 13 years old, I lived on a military base with my dad and my ex-stepmom. She is also an EM, but I will get into that another time. Anyways, stepmom had become friends with another EM on our street, and they would sit on one of their porches drinking wine and gossiping about the other adults or even kids on our street. Stepmom would often let EM come in and boss me and my siblings around, and it obviously annoyed the hell out of me. EM would also call the cops on me and my older sister, not stepmom's kids, to the point to where the base police knew our names. She's crazy, so when stepmom and dad finally split, I thought she wouldn't come over and leave us alone. I was wrong. Meet the cast. EM for crazy neighbor, F for my friend, and me for me. So F had came over just because my dad was super chill with friends just coming in and hanging out. He was also at work during this situation. I was cooking some ramen, so gourmet I know, when all of a sudden I hear the screen door open. There is the screen door and then the main door, and the main door was already open. I look around the corner, confused, when EM stormed down the hall to the kitchen. This is what happens. EM,
Hey F, can I talk to you?
Completely ignores my presence. F, yeah sure Mrs. EM. EM then proceeds to just pull her around the corner and begins whispering to her. I, being the nosy one I am, eavesdropped.
I don't think you should hang out with OP. She's bad news. Don't you see her dyed hair?
My hair was blue at the time.
And her piercings?
I had a nose piercing.
She will corrupt you. She also bullies my blind daughter.
Which in reality, she bullied me and I told her off, finally.
Why don't you just come and hang out with her?
F, Mrs. EM, your daughter bullies OP and I all the time though. EM, very mad at this and is now yelling,
My daughter is a saint. She cannot bully anyone. She's blind.
F, but that doesn't mean...
Yeah, see, OP has made you think this because she hates my daughter.
At this point, I step out from around the corner. Me, EM, please leave my house. You shouldn't have even walked in here in the first place without at least knocking. EM,
shut up, Brad. I'm not leaving until F realizes how crappy you are.
Me, your daughter is way worse than me, but knowing who her mother is, it makes sense why she's the way she is. And by the way, didn't your daughter dye her hair red yesterday? I don't think F should hang out with her. She just might corrupt F, you know? EM,
Excuse me? How dare you accuse my daughter of being that way? I'm going to call base police right now, and I will not leave this damn house until they get here.
She then proceeds to pull out her phone, and F and I are just hysterically laughing. Me, EM, you're crazy. I will tell them that you trespassed. Maybe this time they will actually have a reason to come here. I suggest you leave now and not call them. EM,
You little stupid girl, I will not be leaving until they get here like I said.
so base police shows up, I explain everything, and she gets arrested, but only for a few hours, unfortunately. Dad finally comes home and I explain everything and he laughs. Not super crazy, but somewhat good ending. You know, that's one of the things I would never do, to simply walk into someone's house or even on their property, especially not in America. Because correct me if I'm wrong, if a stranger in America, at least in some states, enters your property, without your permission, he can legally shoot you. So yeah, I would be very careful with that. And now let's continue to our last story for today. EM wants my pet bird. Hello, this happened earlier today and I thought I would share. Not long ago, I moved and brought home a new bird. Pics on my account. I am figuring out what she likes, and while cleaning one day, I found out she loves to be outside. So I have started setting her cage either in front of my screen door or on my front porch with both doors open. The neighborhood kids love to come look at her, and I always let them as long as my bird does not mind and is not visibly upset. Today the weather was nice, so I set my bird out and sat down to have a snack right behind her on the couch. As soon as I got up and my bird was out of sight, I heard someone fiddling with her cage door. I had told the neighbor kids to never open the door, not even the food door, because she will find a way. I ran back to the door and there stood EM and her little brat. I demand to know why she was trying to open my bird's cage, and she acted like what she was doing was normal. Thankfully, I had put a lock on her cage and I never thought it would be necessary, but today it was. EM,
Oh, my son wants to see the pretty bird. Would you mind taking the lock off?
Me, no, you can look, but the door stays closed. EM,
Young lady, take the lock off now. Listen to your elders.
F me and my baby face. I'm pretty sure this woman thought I was 14 to 15, but I'm just short with a baby face. I'm 18 and she was around 30. I demand she leave and that no, her son would not see my bird. As I started to take Jersey back inside, she grabbed the cage, trying to pull her back outside. I told her that if he took my bird off my property, I would call the police and she would have a felony. Where I live, stealing an animal is a felony and everything she was trying to take was close to $1,000. When I told her I would call the police, she reluctantly left, surprisingly. The entire time, her kid just looked mad, not even embarrassed that his mother was making a fool of herself. I was, thankfully, able to get a license plate number and plan on reporting her or something. Moral of the story, if you let your pet out, don't be afraid to take extra protection so they are not taken. Thanks for reading. I actually love how the people in the comments are basically saying that they would like to shoot the person that would take away their pet. And one guy is even saying, American problems require American solutions. So yeah guys, what would be, in your opinion, the best solution to get rid of Karens in America, which is clearly an epidemic which is spreading more and more? Tell us in the comments. But either way, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the content today. And if you did, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to my channel to help me out. We are closing in on 4,500 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy because just 1.5 days ago, I think, I said that we reached 4,000 subscribers. So I hope you have a great day and I see you tomorrow.